was the early 2000s. I mean, I'm biased, but that was such a great time for music. It was the bands, it was the battles. You had Destiny's Child, NSYNC, 3LW, like all these amazing bands. And I felt that Liberty X really had that kind of the edge that those other bands had. You were very much R&B.
You know, when you just hear that song and the first doom, doom, and I knew that was special.
No one says this is what's going to happen and this is what you should expect. Like, were there some moments that really stick with you that you look back at now and think that actually affected me massively?
Yeah.
Michelle, welcome to Gold Mines.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a real honour to be here. It really is. You know, like you were saying just before we started recording that Liberty X and our music was a thread through your youth and so was watching you know.
Oh, bless you.
So like it's completely reciprocated for me.
Oh, well, it's so lovely to get you on here and just, I feel like I've watched you on TV for many years. I've seen you performing, but it's going to be really nice to get to know you a little bit more. Now, you're obviously so busy already, and still, you're going on Celebrity MasterChef.
Yes,
am I right?
Yes.
You're going on tour with the Ultimate Girl Band show.
I am. Yeah, we've got about 3 months of dates next year up and down the country. So that's my first time I'm out of the Liberty X bubble, fronting a show with singers and exploring the world of everything girl band. So that's going to be really good. Challenging, but good. How
do you feel about going back to those days, really, stepping back into that world?
I'm really excited. I think without, theatre's my life, whether it's in an acting capacity or singing, just to perform, being on stage, entertaining live audiences is what my younger self always, aspired to be and do. And I get to still do that. So I'm super excited.
And then obviously Panto.
Yes.
And being a mum, seriously,
I know,
you've got a lot going on.
2 kids and two dogs. Yeah, pantomime, I'm in Billingham Forum, which is right near Middlesbrough. So I'm playing Tinkerbell.
Oh, what a great character.
I get to fly.
Oh, that's so cool. Do you know what? We go to Panto every year with the kids and they absolutely love it. It's just that tradition in so many families. It must just be such a joy to be on stage and see all those little happy faces all ready for Christmas.
Yeah, it really is. And I love the fact that I'm playing somebody nice and kind.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to get the boos that I normally would because I'm often, placed as the wicked queen.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a nice change.
Oh, what a great moment that'll be. Now, I obviously get all my guests to bring in 3 items and you've brought some wonderful items in today. I'm going to start with your first one, which is so cool.
Yeah.
Explain to us what it is.
So this is my Brit Awards and it was 2003 and it was for Best British Single for Just a Little. And that was voted by the British public rather than, the people who sit behind a desk and make all the decisions. And, obviously it's a Brit Award, so it means so much. But the fact, 2 years previous to that, we were branded in the press as the flop stars and the losers from the show Pop Stars because we came second to Hearsay.
Yeah.
So we had a really big uphill battle and it wasn't easy sailing. And there was moments where the record company, let us go because we weren't doing great and we almost gave up. And then we found Just a Little. Actually, I found the song.
I woke up with that song in my head this morning. Honestly, what a great song. It just takes me back.
We were so lucky. That just kind of landed on my lap one day. I was in a recording studio writing a song with Dane Bowers, a friend of mine.
Oh, and Dane Bowers.
Yeah, right, back in the day.
What a legend.
I know, he really is. Yeah, he's a few of the choice words, but I won't share it with you today. But the producer there played this song and said, it was written for Anastasia. She's just passed on it for whatever reason. Do you think your A&R man might like it? And, when you just hear that song and the first doom, doom, and I knew that was special. That was going to save our butt cheeks in the record label. And it was just going to be something really great. And it was. So
how did it feel, though? Obviously, going through that whole process of Pop Stars must have been really, you're thrown into a whole new world, aren't you? A world that you've never been in. You go through all that stress and then you get to that point where you don't make that band. You don't become a member of Hearsay.
Yeah.
And so you have all that devastation to deal with. And then almost in an instance, you're on the other side of it and carving out success in a completely different way. How did that feel for you?
Oh, I mean, I had been auditioning myself for quite a number of years before the Pop Stars audition came along. I would work weekend jobs back in Newcastle, save a bit of money, get on the bus, go to London, show up, with any audition that was advertised in the Stage newspaper. It was an actual newspaper back then and not online. Go to Pineapple Dance Studios and Dance Attic, Dance City and Huskies and all those places. And I would just show up. And I had done that for a number of years and I had almost got something and then got to the last 10 of Girl Thing. There was a girl band called Girl Thing. And usually it was the same judges. The Simon Cowles. I know Jerry was a part of it. Pete Waterman and we had Nasty Nigel Lithgow on ours. And I just think the next time you go, they remember you more. And then you just get that little step closer. And it was just that. It was just the next audition. Had no idea how big it was going to be. Didn't know that it was going to be a massive TV show. Yes, there were cameras, but there were cameras present at most auditions. And then we recorded it. Obviously, I didn't get into hearsay. It was 6 months until it was shown on TV. I went back to my job, which was a dancer in a nightclub. It was a fun pub, so I dressed as a Spice Girl and things like that. Nothing untoward. And then it came on the TV and just overnight my life changed. I had to leave the job because we were getting recognised a lot and then we got back in touch with the guys who didn't make it. And we just decided, let's give it a go as a 5-piece. It wasn't ITV's decision. It wasn't something that was made behind the scenes. We just thought, let's tell the world that we want to do it.
And did you always have aspirations to be in a band? Was there ever, I want to be solo, but was it always a band for you where you felt that your talents
lied? Absolutely. My first memory is watching Bucks Fizz. And I know Cheryl now from Bucks Fizz, and she, whenever I see her, she loves the story I tell her. And it was literally, I remember watching them when they took the skirts off, and there was the 4-piece, and there was girls and boys, and they just all looked like they were having the best time doing what they loved, singing and performing. And I said to my mum, I remember my mum always said to me, you were watching that and said, that's what I want to do, Mum. I want to take my skirt off.
I bet your mum was like, yeah.
And that never changed.
Yeah.
It was my first love. It was always my passion. And throughout my childhood, I studied, business and other things and economics and drama. But it was always that I wanted to pursue. And so I did it alongside my education.
So tell me about that time though, because it was the early 2000s. And I mean, I'm biased, but that was such a great time for music. It was the bands, it was the battles. It wasn't just, bands in the UK. It was the USA as well. You had Destiny's Child. I'm thinking of like NSYNC, 3LW, like all these amazing bands.
I know.
And I felt that Liberty X really had that kind of the edge that those other bands had. You were very much R&B, pop, weren't you? And you stood out.
Yeah, no, we thought so. And I think like looking back and, I don't think Liberty X ever reached their full potential. And that's what we all kind of feel as a band. Like we got to some great heights and we had 3 albums and we travelled around the world, but never American side. And we just didn't have the right tools to get us there from the record label.
Yeah.
But we never felt like we kind of reached where we could have got. And that's a regret of ours. And when it all ended, it wasn't a massive big, okay, we're going to do one big concert and say goodbye to people. We were just in a dressing room. And I remember, I was struggling a little bit with the alcohol back then, but it wasn't so much as a problem then. And Kevin was kind of like me, and Kelly and Tony were just tired of the same stuff every day. And Jessica wanted to get married and start a family. So it was just a conversation. And Kelly said, I think I'm done. And we all kind of agreed. And we had one more gig on our list to do. It was actually a charity gig with Whitney Houston.
Oh, wow.
So one of our final gigs was with Whitney. And
I mean,
she brought
that's
her,
incredible.
Yeah, really, right? So we go from that to nothing.
Hey, everyone. I just wanted to quickly ask that you follow Goldminds wherever you get your podcasts. By following, you'll get access to honest conversations about big stuff, career shifts, health challenges, mindset, and everything in between. Follow now and be part of this journey with us.
It all stops.
Yeah.
Right? Like the money stops. The retainer that you paid from the record label, it all stops because you have to recoup. You have to pay them what you've spent.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was we were just left and that was it. And so life was completely different, 24 hours later.
Because it's quite similar to sport in a way. I spoke about this in the past, that you're living this life and you're in the middle of everything and there's no phasing out. That it, like you say, it just stops. And then you then have to decide what you're going to do next. And I imagine going into that world anyway, like how prepared are you? Like no one says this is what's going to happen and this is what you should expect. Like that must have been quite like a learning curve more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
At that time.
Like for Hearsay, for example, they had 6 months of media training and they had like a whole team behind them preparing them for what was going to lie ahead for their future. And we didn't, they didn't nurture us. We weren't part of that package. And so we went into it, with our eyes closed, with just our hearts full of love for it.
Yeah.
Had no idea what to expect. And I found myself getting into this box by the press as the party girl. And I did love to party. I had the best time. I was single. I was a pop star.
Yeah, single pop star. I
had beautiful boy band boyfriends and I had just the best time. Like I don't regret anything. But the press are very quickly to label each person in a band, right? So, Sarah Harding was kind of that for Girls Aloud and I was that ilk of Liberty X, and Kelly was the main singer and Jessica and Tony was the Irish one and Kevin was the voice. And so people didn't know where to place me because I wasn't necessarily the lead singer or the best dancer. And so I had that label and it stuck with me throughout the band. And I think for me, looking back, I was happy at first to kind of live up to that and that kind of then paved the way for what then became in the future, a battle with alcohol and drugs.
Because the tabloids were tough during that time.
Yes.
I feel obviously the world's changed and there's tough elements with social media now, but the tabloids were really tough. And like you say, they want to create this persona amongst celebrities and pop stars. Like, were there some moments that really stick with you that you look back at now and think that actually affected me massively?
Yeah, I remember there was one instance. There was lots of paparazzi. And they would follow me home on bikes, and it was a lot. And there was this party. I wore a dress. I didn't wear underwear. It wasn't to show anything, but I chose not to because of the dress anyway. And I was getting into a taxi, and one particular paparazzi had the camera up the skirt. And we've heard this countless times. It wasn't just me. It happened every night that there was somebody going out. They wanted that knicker shot. Like that ran on the front of
crazy
certain
to think that
newspapers.
Now, isn't it?
And they got the shot, and that affected my relationship, I think, with my family. My brother, who was 3 years younger, had to cope with the fact that his sister's picture was that, and my dad was working on the trains at the time, and his colleagues put the picture on his locker at work. And and it was a lot. That then put me into a place where I was then overly cautious and just scared to do anything because I realised that I could not hide. And then they wanted more. So the frenzy of the paparazzi on me in particular in the band was more. And very intense.
And what was the dynamic like amongst you as bandmates, though? Did your other bandmates feel that pressure that was put on you? Did you feel some of the pressures on them as well? How did that play out with you as a group?
Absolutely. Back in the day, it was a feeling, and also it was voiced to me by other members that I needed to rein things in. And looking back, I should have done, but I was also having fun at the same time, and I wasn't hurting anybody except myself. And but now, actually, on the flip side, Jess and Kel have voiced that actually, without that part of the group, without that girl that I was, there wouldn't have been as much interest. So it kind of comes with the package, and it is what it is. And I was that person. And whilst, we're not validating what I got up to and what the press did, without that, without the Rachel Stevens of the S Clubs and without the Sarah Hardens of Girls Aloud, there isn't as much press to be written. And that's what fed our narrative.
Yeah.
That's what people wanted to know. And that also fed into the popularity and the success of the group.
How do you feel now, though, looking back? Do you look back and think, do you have any regret? Like, would you want to change anything? Do you feel that it's put you ultimately on the path that you're at now, and you're in a very happy place now?
Yeah.
But you've obviously been on a tough journey to get there.
It kind of it gets me quite emotional thinking about it, because my young self, like, I just felt, and I can still suffer from this now, imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
That's where, I don't believe that I deserve where I am or where, my position in the group. I always questioned it because, I can sing, I can dance, I'm great. I didn't have any training. I did it on a whim. My mum and dad, we struggled growing up financially, so there wasn't that kind of support. And, because the press labels me as that, I thought that was all I was good at. And so it's been a struggle ever since, proving myself to me, and others, that would assume she was the one who couldn't sing. And that isn't the case. I know myself that isn't the case. But people don't know that. And so I think, it hasn't been easy for me to prove myself or to get the opportunities that maybe would have gone the way of the other girls. And so I suppose me doing this tour next year with the Ultimate Girl Band, saying that I'm in a 4-part group and singing just as much as the rest of them on my own merit is slightly alien to me. But I have to believe in myself that someone's given me that opportunity for a reason.
Yeah.
Whereas back there, I just thought I was there as the talk and party girl.
And you must feel like a completely different person now, though, to, like you say, take part in the show, put yourself out of your comfort zone. Well, out of your comfort zone, but in your comfort zone in a way.
Out and in, absolutely. It's going to be difficult not having my girls with me. Jess and Kel have been such a support for me, especially through, getting sober and through my addictions and everything. Like, they were a pillar of support. But I will have, 3 of the girls with me that I'll get to know and, all girl power and all that. So I'm very, very excited.
So let me touch a bit more on the Brit Award because obviously there's so many successes that came through this time for you. Do you look back at this time and think, there must have been so many like pinch me moments where you were in environments and with bands and other people that you must have been like, this is so surreal to be here.
So many. I tell my kids these stories and they don't get it. Well, they don't really get it because when I talk about like Bon Jovi, my kids don't get it because they don't really know, Bon Jovi as such. But there was one time we were on a tour in Australia. We were support act for Bon Jovi and Pink.
So cool.
And John invited us on their yacht one day. And so we go out on his yacht and Richie Sambora sat there playing his guitar and he was with Heather Locklear at the time and he was telling stories about the press and not to believe everything that's written and he was just delightful and like that. I mean,
their moments.
Bon Jovi was probably my first concert I ever went to, right? And then I'm sitting on their yacht
that
just
is
chatting.
A full circle moment.
That is a full circle. Mariah Carey, one of the main reasons why I started singing, Mariah Carey Music Box was one of my first ever albums and she was like my inspiration when it came to music and storytelling.
Yeah.
Her and Whitney Houston. And we gave her an award in Singapore, at the MTV Asia Awards. And then on the last episode of Chums, I think most people who are listening to this, it will be their era, which was SMTV Live. And Kat and Deck got married at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, and Mariah Carey was the bridesmaid. And there's Liberty X, there's Blue. And there's Hearsay on the bridal party. I mean, so you can't.
That's so cool, isn't it?
Right? How
They
mad
are
is that?
moments that you must just look back and think, did that actually happen?
Yeah, I have to look back sometimes, and I get YouTube up because it's all on YouTube. You know, I don't really have many photos because I suppose phone photos weren't really around that much.
Yeah. On this podcast, I'm always inspired by people pushing themselves to the new heights, and that same spirit comes through in David M. Robinson's latest collection. Each design captures a different side of life, and at the heart of them all is the same promise: stylish jewellery crafted to the very highest standards, with a level of detail that makes every piece feel truly special. From day-to-day pieces to iconic collections to bespoke items, DMR has something for everyone. Alongside jewellery, DMR are also retailers of leading luxury watch brands, so it's a perfect place to mark life's milestones. Discover the piece that could mark your own golden moment. Just head to the link in the description. Dream it, make it, love it. You know those mornings when you wake up and you feel like you've barely slept. Maybe your partner's been tossing and turning, maybe you were too warm, or maybe your mattress has just seen better days. Sleep is where your body rebuilds, your mind resets, and those golden moments are made possible. That's why I've partnered with Simba. Their hybrid mattress is designed with cutting-edge technology to keep you cool, supported, and undisturbed through the night, so you can sleep deeper and recover better. With over 350,000 five-star reviews and more than 100 sleep awards, you can trust that Simba really are the experts in great sleep. So if you've been waking up achy, tired, or just not feeling at your best, maybe it's time to upgrade your mattress. With a 200-night risk-free trial and free next-day delivery, better sleep could literally be at your doorstep tomorrow. Shop at simbasleep.com/goldmines.
And yeah, reminisce, and it's just quite something. It really is. There was this one amazing party we went to in Singapore after the MTV Asia Awards. And we were all staying in the same hotel, and Black Eyed Peas were just starting to become big. Sugar Babes was there, Gareth Gates, who's one of my best friends, Blue, us, and Pussycat Dolls had just started. So it was literally like their launch. And we were all in this pool, not doing anything too naughty, but it was so much fun. I'm in this pool with all of these people, and some of them just starting, and look at where their path got them like that. I just smile.
I mean, I'm obviously looking from the outside. I was just training. I was just running around a track doing boring things, but always...
That's not boring. Look at what you achieved.
But I think the music, and the particular music of that time, was just so inspiring and exciting for, young teenage girls and boys. It was just a time of great music, and you were part of that whole scene.
Yeah, I feel very lucky that we were around then and not now.
Yeah.
Back then you'd release about 4 different singles from an album. Each single that you dropped, you did 6 weeks on a radio tour, go around every station, and did the hard work to get your record played. And it's just not like that now. I've got to be honest, I actually don't understand the music industry and how streams and how singles get to where they are and how they monetize. And
it's completely changed, isn't it?
Completely don't understand it.
So what was it like going into the next phase of your life, though? Because, and again, like sport, you're this person for like all your life, it seems. And then all of a sudden it stops. And then you go in a completely new direction. Yeah. Did you have a plan of what you wanted to do when you left the group?
I knew that, I thought I wasn't strong enough a singer to be able to do anything solo. So I didn't even attempt to do anything musically.
Where did that come from? Was that your own insecurity or from other people around you?
I think that's my own.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And a bit of the press, And I know my worth, and I know that I'm a good singer. But moment in time, I didn't think that I was going to be any good to do that. So I thought TV, and I got a job on the Irish X Factor being a judge. That came actually quite quickly. And I was married at the time to my first husband, Andy Scott Lee, who was in a boy band, 3SL.
Yeah.
Lisa Scott Lee's brother from Step.
Yeah.
So I was still kind of in that pop
world,
journey. Yeah. And I went to Ireland for 6 months to work, and consequently our marriage broke up for different reasons. And then here I am. I don't have a home to go back to because we sold it. I had a flat in London which I was renting out. And so I kind of was like, I actually don't know what to do with my life. And just when things were getting really, really bad, especially with alcohol, for me, I met my now husband, Hugh, in Ireland, and he changed my life completely. He's never tasted alcohol. He doesn't drink. He's a pioneer.
Yeah.
Very much into sports, and he just helped me get my value back in life. And so I just kept my head down, I think, for a couple of years. And I lived in Ireland with him, and I just became, I suppose, myself again without any glitz and glamour around me. And then an opportunity came to be on a tour in a play acting called The Naked Truth, where I played a pole dancer, and there was Claire King in there and Julie Buckfield. So there was really, esteemed actresses in there, and Maureen Nolan. So and I did that, and then with that tour, we then decided to move to the UK and start a family, and so that kind of what happened. And I suppose alcohol wasn't then part of my story. I was able to just drink normally and put it down, and had two very, healthy, normal pregnancies, and addictions wasn't part of my story then. And so when I suppose alcohol or drugs became an issue, because I had that time away from it, I was convinced I didn't have problems.
Did you recognise you had a problem when you were younger and in the band? Did you see it as a problem, or did you just see it as I'm young, I'm enjoying life?
I think the latter. But obviously, looking back, my relationship with alcohol has always been disdained. I've suffered with addictions all my life. From my first addiction would be food. So I had a very unhealthy relationship with food. I was a binge eater, and sometimes I can still catch myself do that to change the way I feel. So I would binge eat, overeat, and I would make myself sick. And I was quite big in school. One of the biggest girls. Like, I wasn't obese or anything, but I was definitely big. And I would only find comfort in food, which obviously would make the matter worse. So that was my friend. Food was my friend, and then, so was speed, and then ephedrine and diet pills. And there was always something. Now, coming out the other side and being sober and a lot of counselling and looking back, addictions were present throughout my whole life in one capacity or another.
And it was something that was sparked later on in life that really kind of brought them out in you.
That book. I'm going to blame the book.
Blame the book. And this is your moment, really, isn't it? This is your golden moment that you've brought in to share with us. And just explain to us a little bit. Obviously, it's your book and it's called Hot Flush. Tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write this book and why it's your golden moment.
Golden moment might not be the apt word for it, because I think it's met with disdain as well, and fear around it. I got diagnosed with the BRCA2 cancer gene when Faith was 6 weeks old. So we're talking early 2012. And so I had a decision to make, and me and my husband, we decided that I would undergo a double mastectomy and reconstruction as soon as possible to help eradicate, or at least diminish the risk of breast cancer.
What led you to find out that you had that in the first place? Was it something that was concerning you, or was it just...
My dad has it. Okay. My dad's a carrier. And his mum and her mum both died with breast and ovarian cancer.
Okay.
At a younger age of kind of like early 30s, late 40s, that they start to have these cancers. So they look at the age at which the female members of my family had it to then give me advice on whether I should act quickly or not. So the advice was to act. And so I did. So I had my double mastectomy and reconstruction. And with that, It wasn't, too life-changing. It wasn't ideal. Obviously, I have scars but I kind of do things and I deal with the big things quite easily. It sounds awful, but I made a decision. I got it done and we move on. That's how I thought it was healthy to live life, but it clearly it's not, I didn't seek guidance or counselling. I thought I could do it all alone because I'm strong enough and I'm independent and I've got this.
Yeah.
And I thought I did. And then AJ was born and then came postnatal depression when he tried to latch on. Obviously, I couldn't give him any milk. And it was written on my notes that I could not breastfeed. But in that one moment in time, sorry.
No, you're absolutely fine.
You give what the baby needs, and I couldn't give it.
For anyone, it's such a moment, isn't it? Where obviously you've got all these hormones and emotions, and it's your first child, and then you just don't know how you're going to respond, and that's such a huge thing for you to have gone through, and then. I've not been able to process it properly as well until that moment. It.
Couldn't do what I suppose, you're born to do as a woman, when you've given birth. And AJ was sick with meningitis when he was 6 weeks old. And so I blame myself for not feeding him breast milk.
Oh gosh,
I know it was probably completely unrelated, but that's what I did.
No.
And I would say that was the start of me wanting to change the way I felt about myself. And so then alcohol became a slow burner in the journey of alcoholism. And 6 months after AJ was born, I decided to have a total hysterectomy. And so I went into early menopause, medical menopause. And so the book was written throughout those periods of time. It was about the diagnosis, having the children, the breast operation, the total hysterectomy. And again, I kind of dealt with it in a really savage way. I can deal with it. It's all good. I'll be absolutely fine. I didn't accept any help. I didn't really ask the correct questions. I didn't listen, even if they had the right answers anyway. And so I went straight into menopause. And then for the next couple of years, I navigated my hormones. And what a beast our hormones are.
I mean, when we think, of what women go through and these like key life phases, prenatal, having your baby, postnatal, all these different things that are kind of like spaced out a little bit, but really challenging in their own rights. You've just had all of them put together and some. Like that, I can't actually imagine how your brain must have been functioning, because all these hormones, all these changes, you've got a little baby to look after that needs you as well.
Yeah.
Like just describe how you felt in those months after.
Just felt helpless, and hopeless. And in the same year, I won that. That's AJ had just been born. And I was doing, you get endorsements when you're a celebrity, and the mamas and papas endorsements, and things were, lucratively looking great, and I won that, and I'm standing there with my children, and I just want to cry.
Oh.
Like that should have been such a happy moment, and very honoured to get that, voted by public, and it's like amazing. But I was dying inside. And because I just didn't want to reach out, and I didn't really want to talk about things. And I felt quite alone, going through menopause at such a young age. Your peers aren't going through that.
And did you know anything about menopause? Because I feel like before you're on the cusp of it, and I think we're more aware now of the symptoms and how it's going to affect us, but you don't really know, do you?
No.
How your body's going to change?
No, not at all. I was obviously told how things could look. And I just didn't hear them. And I had so much else going on with the kids and everything. And I just wanted to forget about what I was going through. And I turned to drinking. And it was over, I suppose, a period of, we're talking almost 5 years ago now. So AJ's 11. So over 5 years, I'd say it was a 5-year progression of alcohol, and then came along cocaine towards the end of it.
Did anyone around you recognise what you were going through? Did your husband, your family see the start of it?
Yeah.
Or were you too far down the road of alcoholism?
I know now that I was too far down to stop.
Yeah.
When it was brought to my attention. But anybody who's listening who has had an addiction or family member, we don't want to know. You know, like, we don't want to admit it. We don't want to say that I've got, like, I could not say I've got a problem. 2 years before actually going into rehab, my husband, my manager, my best friends all got together and staged like this intervention to try and get me help. And I just managed to talk my way out of it and promise, at that point, I meant my promise. I'll stop. I'll get better. I promise. I don't want to do this. I don't want you to hurt anymore. And I was in and out of hospital with them, trouble with my pancreas and onset of liver disease. And I knew all of this and I thought I could stop. And when I tried, I couldn't. And when I couldn't, I hid it. And so that last 2 years was really dark.
So what did it look like when you were trying to hide it though?
Oh gosh. So I would get things delivered. I would get drink delivered to the house. I would hide vodka in water bottles, and I would be really sneaky. We're very manipulative addicts. We manipulate to try and only show you what you need to see. So I was openly drinking, but only drinking wine, and I would have that bottle of vodka upstairs hidden in the attic. And I would go to a shop pretty much every day. I would swear it off the night before. I would swear it off the morning. I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to go to the shop. And before I knew it, I was drinking neat vodka. And that was probably an everyday occurrence for that last 2 years. I would sit in the car outside the house and drink before I went in. If I knew I had too much drink, I would get the kids picked up from school by friends. I would orchestrate days out, always around alcohol. Whatever we planned as a family, I would bring vodka to the cinema, wine to the park, whatever I could do to have around it. And then the worst of it was always hidden as well. So people knew, but people didn't know the extent of it.
How did your husband cope? What did he try?
Yeah.
How did he try to help you?
It was COVID as well towards the end, and he was starting a new job and things weren't great. Money, everything, you know what it's like. Like, you can't compete, you can't go out and do what you do, and I couldn't perform and go on stage, so our money just stopped, right? And so we were going through a tough time, and I think his way of dealing with my alcoholism, which I still wouldn't admit, was he had to shut it off for his own sanity and the kids. So whilst, we didn't break up and I didn't get chucked out the house, he had to just be there for the children. And he was sick. He was very sick with other things as well. Health-wise, he wasn't very good. But I was selfish and I didn't see that, so I didn't want to. And so we kind of just coexisted. I was able to show up. I was able to function. I was able to cook dinners. I was able to help with the kids, at home homework to a certain extent. And, I was already an alcoholic before COVID hit.
Yeah.
I know now, looking back and what I know about addiction, we're only now seeing the effect of what COVID did for now people who are full-blown into alcoholism or drug addiction from behaving like that through COVID. My troubles already were there. Yeah. It just exasperated it more. But, Hugh, obviously, every day he was worried sick. He was there with the hospital appointments, and I was very good at convincing people that I had something wrong, like IBS, and I had loads of tests other than alcoholism. Yeah, because I kind of deep down knew.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you really know, or were you always just trying to find reasons and excuses, but deep down you knew that something, that it wasn't right?
Yeah, I knew. Right. I think deep down I knew it was the alcohol that was killing me. Yeah. But if I could pinpoint on anything else, I would. It got to that stage where I didn't want to wake up. You know, like I couldn't stop. Like I was drinking against my will. And I know people who don't understand alcoholism or addictions be like, oh, I don't get it. You just stop. When you can't, you can't stop. And then even when alcohol is not in your presence, you're obsessing over it constantly. It is just always on your thinking. You don't even have to have a drink to be an alcoholic because the obsession is real. I saw no way out. I had kind of at the end kind of accepted that this was my life. I didn't really know anything about the 12-step program or rehab or anything like that. And I certainly wouldn't ask to go to rehab. I thought it was just too shameful.
With the FIFA World Cup coming up in Seattle 2026, I've been thinking about the places that give you the best of both worlds, a vibrant city and the space to recharge. That's why Seattle stands out. They call it Mother Nature's City, and you'll see why the moment you arrive. Picture this, a morning run along the waterfront, followed by incredible food and world-class art in the heart of downtown. Few cities let you do all that in one day. Seattle is inclusive, welcoming, and full of energy. It's a city that invites you to explore. Whether it's savouring fresh seafood at Pike Place Market, diving into its legendary coffee culture, or soaking up the views of Phuket Sound and the mountains beyond. Imagine the world's biggest sporting events set against this backdrop of natural beauty and urban excitement. For me, Seattle is a perfect mix of adventure and inspiration. It's at the top of my list, and it should be on yours too. Discover more at visitseattle.org and start planning your perfect summer of football. And would you have thought that rehab was something that someone else did?
Yeah.
Like you think, I'm not at that stage.
Absolutely.
I don't need that.
Yeah, I wasn't homeless. I wasn't drinking out of a paper bag. It was a plastic bag,
Yeah, you were functioning day to day.
Yeah. So, convince yourself that you're not an alcoholic or that you don't need rehab. Rehab is where, in my opinion, back then was where dirty people go. That's where dirty, stinking alcoholics go. And I would never ask to go somewhere like that. How dare they? How dare they insinuate that I go to rehab? And had I not gone to rehab, I wouldn't be alive now. And I owe my life, to those people who got me there in a very short period of 48 hours of me actually saying I need help. And help was always there.
Yeah.
Those people were ready. They were waiting. I just needed to see it and accept it. Anybody who is listening who has somebody who's in addiction in your family, hopefully they will one day ask for help, but you can't make them ask for help.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it that you have to, you just have to wait for them?
Yeah.
But how long, you could be waiting.
You could be.
And seeing them deteriorate.
Yeah.
So
it's
much
heartbreaking.
more.
That's what my family watched, And I think that like the subtle hints, the do you know what was really bad one point? Being told that I'm not allowed to drink and then my husband taking everything away. I would be worse because I would be more manipulative, lying and going somewhere. That's maybe not the right answer either.
Yeah.
I'm not saying give an alcoholic alcohol, but I'm saying that if you forbid it, they will find a way. And usually it's not the right way that they will find it. Dropping useful hints to them, like there's help if you want it. When you're ready, talk to me. Maybe inviting somebody around who's gone through addiction, But that moment that they staged that intervention, it was just a lot for me. And I wasn't ready to accept it.
What was it like for your kids? Like how, obviously now you can look back at that period with a bit more clarity and vision. Do you think that they were aware of something going on? To what extent do you think they knew? Like, do they know more about it now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they know more about it now, especially my eldest. She is almost 14 now. And in that photo, she was 9.
So this is your third item, isn't it? And
yes.
This is a gorgeous picture of you, your husband, your 2 children.
Yes.
And you were just telling me that this picture was taken outside of the Priory.
It was on the steps of the Priory the day I got out, the day I was released after 28 days. And I went into the Priory looking very, very different to that lady that you see there. I was very bloated. My skin was translucent. It was very, very itchy and very veiny. My organs were failing. And I came out looking relatively normal. And the kids knew that I was in a hospital because I was allergic to alcohol.
Okay.
And that wasn't a lie. You know, we say it's an allergy of the body and, you know, a mental illness of the mind. You know, the obsession is real. And once I take a drink, I can't stop.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned about addiction. My children, I don't think AJ really has any recollection of what really happened. And Faith, to be honest, doesn't have much of a memory of the way things were, I suppose. I was clever, or not clever, but I definitely would be hiding most of the escapades away from them anyway. I think the worst of it from my children, from their perspective, was that, you know, their days out would be with other kids at the pub. There was always a pub in the outing. And so that was their worst probably experiences. You know, it was my husband who found me, you know, the morning after, when I was up all night in the living room. You know, it was my husband who found me in those compromising positions, not the kids.
How has your marriage changed now, though, for obviously everything that you've been through? And you've been together for, 15 years?
Yeah, it was our 15th wedding anniversary this year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So we've been together for almost 17 years now. Like so much. I mean, it's hard to say that I don't regret what happened. Of course I do, right? But what it has done is just created this life that I didn't think existed. I didn't think I could exist without drinking alcohol. I didn't know myself, you know, throughout my whole career. I drank alcohol, you know, before a performance, after a performance, during. I thought I couldn't do life without it. Yeah. So I've had to kind of like relearn steps, how to live life. And my husband is just everything. Oh, he's going to get big head.
He's going to be so happy about this.
I know. Honestly, like our marriage is, you know, it has ups and downs like every marriage.
Of course,
But we have honesty today. There's no jealousy. You know, there's no worry from either end. Like, he does not worry when I go out at an event or wherever I am that I'm not going to come home.
There's that
or
love
I'm
and
going to
trust.
ring and say I'm going to stay over at somebody's house. Like, I would do that regularly. Like, how disrespectful was that? Like, there's none of that.
Yeah.
And I think with that becomes a lot more of an acceptance as a marriage. And so we don't have that jealousy or those things that, you know, regularly occur in marriages for other reasons. But that's not a case because I'm not acting out on things. And the kids are great. Like, they're amazing. They're both at senior school now. AJ is like really into sports. He's doing so well. And Faith is taller than me. She's my best friend.
It must be, I just think it's so crazy when your kids get, you know, above your head height. It must be such a strange feeling. They're kind of looking down on you and looking after you in a way.
It really is. Like, when we hug, I have to stand on my tippy toes.
Oh, it's nice though.
And, you know, they look after me whenever. It's still though, when we go to the supermarket, AJ says, don't look at that aisle because it's got alcohol in it.
Oh, really?
And he means it just out of love. Like, he knows I'm good. He knows, relapse hasn't been part of my story.
Yeah.
He does it out of love. And, you know, Faith's becoming, you know, is a teenager now. So, you know, in the next, I don't know, 2-3 years.
Yeah.
That's when her life will shift to then we're going to have to navigate what then she does going forward.
I was going to say, do you feel that there'll be a time where you want to sit down with your kids and have that discussion?
I to be honest, nothing's off the table with my children.
Yeah.
I've been very open with Faith, and obviously everything's on the internet. You know, there was nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
The anonymity of what I was going through was taken away the day I stepped in the Priory. It was already in the press before my mum even knew I was going in.
Oh, really?
It was already out there. It had got leaked by who I thought was a friend, which I won't name. And, you know, that particular person tried to sell stories while I was in the Priory. And you know how it works. You know, a newspaper has a story on you. They ring your agent up and they say, we've got a story. We're going to run it unless you want to give us the exclusive from your end. And so we decided to do that. So I tried to get the power back from somebody else creating that narrative. and I'm sure it would have been, an incorrect narrative. So unfortunately, since I came out of the Priory, I did that, that one big interview with the newspaper to say it was drink and drugs and, say what I needed to say.
Yeah,
and
in your own words.
In my own
your
words.
Own way.
And then we didn't do any press or anything like that for quite some time after that.
Did you find that you had to change some of your friendships and circles as well after coming out of the Priory?
It's really funny that those friendships that you've made a decision to walk away from, they actually walk away from you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's because they're also in that, and some still are, and they don't want to be reminded by how maybe things have turned around for me when they can't, and that's sad.
Yeah.
I think those people know that I'm there for them if they ever need it. And then you've got those who I've had to distance myself because of, that example of somebody trying to sell a story. And I have put barriers in and that, what, one of the greatest things I've came away throughout all this is being able to put barriers in and the ability to just say no.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing, especially when you've been in the industry that you've been in as well. You have to just constantly be people pleasing and saying yes and
because it was easier to say yes to everything, right? Yeah, I'll come here. Yeah, I'll do that. And now, we think about, okay, what do I get out of it? Is this something that I want to talk about? I want to share a story. I think it'd be beneficial for other people listening. Do I want to go to that party? Do I love the person that I'm going for, or was it just another event to sit with people who are going to get drunk? And I can say no or yes today. And I was never able to do that.
And those people don't care about you, do they?
No.
You're there, drinking and they're drinking and you're fun, and that's not because they care about you. It's because they just want to have a good time themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
It's for selfish reasons.
Yeah, 100%. And, I think what kind of hurt a little bit, if I'm being honest, is, and most people who are in recovery have found this, that people who you are really close with, who are good people, kind of stop then inviting you places. And it's a reason because, I suppose, many reasons. One is that they don't know what to say to you anymore or behave, and that is fair enough. And that does shift over time.
Yeah.
They don't want to hurt you and put you in a position where they're drinking, and that I'm grateful for. But also they don't know how to behave with you anymore, and that's a shame. So I have lost a couple of friends who just don't feel easy being in my presence, and that's a real shame because I'm still Michelle, and I still like to go out and have a good time. I just don't need to drink on it. And that is a shame in general for those who are in sobriety, that sometimes friends walk away and not realize that you're still the same person.
Yeah, it's so multifaceted, isn't it? Like it's not just something that happens and then you stop and life goes back to normal in a way. Like everything changes in some small respect. And I think if we go back to this, the book that you wrote and touching on the whole, side of menopause and women's health, I think how brave are you to firstly document your whole journey for a really challenging time, but also shed light on actually what so many women go through, but don't really understand, don't really know the right questions to ask. Like, how hard was it to put pen to paper and firstly document your story, but how much have you learned and how much have you shared with so many women out there going through similar situations?
Thank you. I wrote the book from a diary that I kept throughout everything. And I remember I had a ghostwriter to write the majority of it, but the first 2 chapters I wrote before submitting it to see if anybody was interested. So they're pretty much my own words, which is great.
Yeah.
Hugh also wrote a chapter.
Oh, did he?
So there's a Hugh's chapter in there from a male perspective, a partner's perspective.
Which is really important though, isn't it? Because you often forget, most men are just like, oh, my wife's got a bit crazy. Like, what do I do? How do I help her? And it's, to have his perspective is really powerful.
It was. And what was great about being able to do that book, I think, is the people that I met doing it. Because we, went on a book tour and we met people in the same situations. And Hugh accompanied me on a few podcasts where we had men come in and talk about them and their relationship with the menopause.
Yeah.
And it was really, really sad to see how many men had no idea what to do and how marriages have failed and they felt helpless and they had nowhere to turn. And, you know, like there is help out there for women if they ask and if they seek it. And the narrative has changed. Absolutely. We are talking more about menopause and, you know, myself and the likes of Davina and McCall and people like that who've been very, very outspoken about what's happened and how they've suffered has definitely shifted the narrative. But some people are still, you know, as clueless as I was before going into it. And I think like going into it at that certain age, it was never discussed.
Yeah.
And, you know, growing up, you know, my mum never talked about her going through menopause. I think the only thing I remember her complaining of is headaches. But since everything I've went through and we've revisited conversations, I now know that my mum suffered greatly from lots of different things and she just kept that side hidden.
Yeah, they didn't. Same with like my mum and friends' parents. You know, I remember being a teenager and one particular friend, and we just thought her mum was just so angry all the time. And she was like, "What's wrong with her? She's just really angry." But we had no idea. Like we would not know anything about menopause or perimenopause, and you know, she probably didn't really know either. So the world has changed a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, we do know more, but I suppose it's that education before you actually get to that point.
Yes.
So you can recognise you're there, what's your norm, like how is your body changing and how to deal with it, because often it's too hard to navigate.
Yeah, totally agree. And there's so many symptoms out there. They can be passed off for anything. And I think, you know, if you are unsure or your periods have become erratic or anything, any of the symptoms, you have to just go and ask for your hormones check. They do that. Use it. Go to your doctor. Ask for that test. Say you think you're perimenopausal, you're not sure, and you will get a definite answer. But if you don't ask, you know, knowledge is power. You have to be able to have the full picture before being able to understand what you're going through. And sometimes when you know what you're going through, then also that can help with the mind and how you're dealing with the problems then, rather than getting more angry with yourself or depressed, thinking, well, nothing else is happening, so why am I feeling like this? When you know, sometimes that can in itself just shift the way that you think.
Well, it gives you context, doesn't it? I suppose you've got context of why you feel like that. It's not just, oh, I feel like this and it's out of my control. You can find ways to navigate through those symptoms. Have you had a lot of feedback? Have you had any stories from women that have read your book and come to you and said, oh gosh, I was going through this, but reading your book's really, you know, helped me navigate some situations that I couldn't before?
Yeah, I have to say there's been lots of situations in just over the years of events that I've gone to or maybe I've been on Lorraine or This Morning or something like that. And there's been, you know, women who've got their book with them and have said that this is my Bible. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
And like it really helped them to understand what may or may not come for them, and also to help their husbands. And again, like such a massive, massive thing to do. You know, I remember my mum reading it, and my mum actually learnt a lot about her daughter. Yeah. And that was a little bit sad. But sometimes it's easier to put pen to paper. And it was very therapeutic for me to do this book. And I don't think that I fully understood what had gone on until I did the audiobook of it.
Yeah.
When you sit down and you read your own words.
You hear it.
And you're like, oh gosh, like that happened. Oh God, like the penny kind of drops. So I suppose if that affects me, the person that wrote it, then that would affect other people who read it too. I was just flabbergasted that I got a book deal and that I got to write a book. And the context at which it's written about has hopefully helped somebody.
And for your children as well, you know, particularly your daughter, she'll have this to look back on it, you know, when she's going through certain phases of her life, and I'm sure she'll draw massive strength. I just want to end on this final picture, though, that we've already spoken about. I think what a beautiful unit. And I know you've spoken about Hugh with such like love and trust and passion, but how much has he been, you know, such a constant, like, I don't know, presence and love and support on a day-to-day basis for you through all the different transitions that you've been through?
You can want me to cry.
No, I don't want you to cry.
Hugh can really frustrate me. He does not put the toilet seat down, and he does all those things the standard husband stuff.
Yeah.
But he is just such a big supporter of mine. Like, we really champion each other. And not that I need any permission to go and work and do that. He supports it thoroughly. We make it work. We don't have childcare or anything glamorous like that. My mum lives in Newcastle and his parents live in Dublin. We make it work somehow so that we both get to do what we love, because that makes us happy and that means a happy home. He's an amazing father. He really is. He's great at what he does at work. He's director of fitness for Pure Gym and he's smashing it. Oh. And I'm so proud of him as well. And just feel very blessed. The kids are everything to us and our dogs.
Yeah.
We've got a new puppy who's only 16 weeks old.
Oh, new baby.
Who is literally going to be tearing up the living room for me to get back to.
That is a full-time job in itself, a puppy.
But this bunch of people, I value my friends and my friendships, and I've got some beautiful friendships. As long as we're okay and whatever happens with us and we know what's going on, then that's all that matters.
Well, you've said such beautiful words about your family, but I know they'll be so proud of you, because you've been, even just in this hour of chatting to you, just seeing the journey that you've been on, you've been through so much and so many big moments, all the way back to Liberty X, but all the way through to, your addiction and coming out the other side as well. So, just thank you for sharing your story today. And, you should take way more confidence than you do into the next phases of your life, because you're an incredible woman. Board.
Thank you so much. And listen, you are an inspiration. And, for watching my son come through all the sports that he's doing, and he's a very talented golfer and things like that. Like, you paved the way for young women and young boys.
Oh,
and we are very, very, very grateful that I got to be here today. My husband is buzzing.
Oh, well, say hi to Hugh from
me.
I don't need to go just yet though, because I'm going to give you some golden quick-fire questions.
Okay, lovely.
Okay, when's your golden hour? So a time when you feel completely you.
After the gym. Yeah, I do the school drop off and I go to the gym straight away, and then I come back and I make myself a massive big bowl of yogurt, oats and fruit, and I sit down, I put on Netflix.
Just have a bit of chill.
That's me. That's my happy me. Eating, workout done, watching Netflix.
Chill. That sounds good. I could do that now. Who has been the golden influence on your life?
Obviously, I have to say my husband, my children, leads by example, and Hugh's a massive example to me of how to live life to the full without ever having tasted alcohol and without ever doing anything bad, and just being a good person. And
Oh, I love that. Do you have a golden moment that you completely messed up, but that you can laugh about now?
Oh gosh, we were performing. I don't know how big this is, but we were performing in Party at the Park, and we just met the now King.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, remember Party at the Park in Hyde Park with all these wonderful pop stars, and just a little, was it number one, and it was just amazing. And we had the canes. We have canes that we dance to.
I love the canes. Yeah.
We still have them.
Going to come in with a cane today.
Oh my God, it's at home. We still dance to them, and we just met the King. Well, Prince at the time, and he said, "I like your boots," and he looked at me, and the press got a picture, and it looked like he was looking at my boobies, but it wasn't. It was not. It was my boots. And when we were on stage, I flung the cane by accident into the audience and had to do the rest of the routine without the cane.
I thought you were going to say the Prince caught it.
No, that would be a golden moment. No.
Oh, I love that. So what did you do? Just pretend you had it in your hand and did the movement?
Literally, yeah. And do you know what? I remember somebody who actually got that, and they kept that cane.
Did they?
They did. But I know, but he's in the industry.
Oh, really?
So I best not name him. He knows who he is.
Don't name him. I bet it was someone from Blue, wasn't it?
Oh, it wasn't. But it would have been more than likely that, if not the other.
Okay, final question. What is your one golden Liberty X moment where you've just been like, wow, this was incredible?
Can I say two? There was one when we were number one at Top Pops, Richard Branson, who we were signed to at the time, V2, and he came on stage and presented us with our triple platinum album, and,
So cool.
and all of our family were in the audience. And but I think for me, it was when we performed at the Royal Variety Performance in front of the Queen. And we were singing A License to Kill. It was Bond's theme that year. And we opened it up, and it was just exquisite. We were in these beautiful made ball gowns, and we got to perform, for the Royal Variety Performance. And that
was epic.
That was epic.
They're memories for life, aren't they?
Yeah.
Memories for life. Oh, well, thank you so much.
Thank you. I've loved this.